your methods are very specific. They're surprisingly simple, in my opinion, but incredibly effective based on what you've seen with your results for your clients and what you've seen over the years. It seems to me like you just do on-page SEO and technical SEO, and then the rest of it is content writing and content publishing. And publishing new content on a regular basis, whether that's 2 articles a month or 4 or 6 a month or something like that, that's enough to get your clients seeing like new gains, like new returns every month, like new organic traffic coming in. I know they all start with a pretty decent domain authority, so that probably has something to do with it. But yeah, I guess I was just wondering if you could kind of break down your method. I mean, I don't know if you think it's as simple as I do, but just talk about what you've seen over the years. And I know everyone right now is worried about artificial intelligence and whether or not backlinks are still important and a whole bunch of other subjects. But for the longest time, it just seems like, people would say constant content or content is king or something along those lines. Is it really as simple as I think it is, where you're just writing a couple of blog posts every month and then your clients are performing well? Or am I missing something? Am I oversimplifying?
I think regularly publishing really good content that's targeting really good topics for a particular client on a monthly basis is certainly a large part of my strategy. But before we start working on blog content, we always, of course, start with the main site. So typically, month one of a client engagement, assuming it's a retainer, ongoing engagement, is going to be some form of keyword research for just their business and their website. So what are the core business terms that are going to be the highest, ROI terms for a website to rank for? And then it's mapping those terms to pages on their site and finding maybe gaps on their site. So maybe there's a group of terms that they want to be competing for, but they don't have a really good page to kind of match those keywords or to optimize for those keywords. So a lot of times, starting with a new client, I'll suggest a few new pages to build out to make sure we're able to cover that bucket of terms. I guess to answer your question, there's certainly more to it than publishing, new informational content. That's a big part of the ongoing strategy, and it's certainly like a monthly deliverable. Whereas something like keyword research, on-page optimization, technical audit, those are a lot of that is done sort of upfront, say in the first 3 months, and then those aren't going to be like consistent monthly deliverables per se, but they're definitely things that are reviewed on a monthly basis. So, for instance, when you do your keyword research, say in month one, that's not set it and forget it or one and done. We are constantly looking at and considering those keywords we first identified each month and saying, are these the best keywords to go after? What are the ones that we're making progress on and what are the ones we're not? And so that the research of those core business terms and sort of the optimization that goes along with those can evolve over time. And then same with the technical audit. Most clients don't need a technical audit every single month of a campaign, but depending on the site, for instance, say a large e-commerce store, they may need a technical audit more frequently and just need things monitored more frequently than, say, a small marketing website or a small B2B website. There's a lot of pieces of it. I guess lastly, you had mentioned kind of most of what I do is on page, and I'm assuming by that you mean almost all of the work I'm doing is to a client's website, as opposed to, I guess, off page, which would be typically you would think of link building. Maybe you tie in like social media marketing or even email marketing. I do very little, I guess, traditional off page SEO, link building, outreach, scheduling, guest posts and things like that. I do very little of that. I'm mostly focused on optimizing, improving the client's existing sites, and then creating new pages and new content on their website that are able to rank and drive traffic without the need for direct link building, if that makes sense.
What do you do in that first phase with the keyword research when let's say you're going through a list of keywords and you're refining it. You're trying to find the best ones to match the client's website and their goals and their audience and everything. Let's say you uncover a keyword that is promising, but they don't currently have a page on their site for it. And you said that you will make a new page. You'll guide them in the process to make a new page so that they can start to target that keyword and potentially rank for it. I think about new content for a page, and a lot of times that means like a post, like a blog post, like a long form article of 1,000 words to 2,000 words or 2,500 words. And there's a bunch of H2 sections and like a table of contents, and it takes someone like a little bit of time to read. Is that what you do with those keywords up front? Like if they need a new static, like a service page, or like what does that page look like? If you say, hey, you guys need a new page for this keyword, like how do you format the way that page looks and the content that goes on there?
Right. Yeah, it can take on a number of forms. So what I'm talking about early on in a campaign, it would be assuming that we're targeting keywords that are more commercial oriented in nature. So if it's more informational, such as like, what is this or how to do this? And it's going to require a blog post that would kind of be discovered, or we would be working on that a little bit later on in the campaign. So assuming it's more of a commercial oriented term. So it could be, if it's a B2B site, it's probably a phrase that ends in the word like consulting or training or classes or courses or software or services, right? Those are people that are looking for, it's a more commercial oriented term. If it's a B2C website, it would be more product based. So just as for instance, I don't know if it's the best example, but it's the first one I thought of. Say this is a boutique, it's an e-commerce store that sells like kind of like high-end or luxury, like men's sunglasses, right? And maybe they just have like one page that's like all sunglasses, but it's a boutique company and maybe they only have, 12 or 15 SKUs. So kind of like all their sunglasses are on that page, but they want to target a term like, polarized men's sunglasses. So they want to differentiate between polarized versus non-polarized, or style of sunglasses, aviator versus whatever the other styles of sunglasses are. So if they only have one big sunglasses page, they're not going to be able to target all those different variations like aviator, like polarized, things like that. So if a few of those are particularly important to them, we may need to create a new category of just their 5 or 6 variations of like polarized sunglasses, and work on optimizing that page for polarized. For say it's B2B. With B2B, there may be either like an aspect of their offering, maybe their services pages are kind of broad and those need to be kind of broken out, meaning there's almost like multiple use cases for a single service offering. In other words, there might be 6 different ways that people search for that offering or an aspect of that offering. So in that case, we might want to think about breaking out kind of like one broad service page into say 3 or 4 kind of smaller, more targeted ones that actually match the things that the ways in which people are searching for that service.
Okay. So then it will depend a little bit on what they're selling and what their business.
Yeah. And I guess, lastly, you mentioned like, how do you decide what that page looks like, right? I mean, I guess usually it would be, it's kind of goes to, so much of SEO right now is like about searcher intent. Google has gotten really good about kind of figuring out what people are searching for when they're typing in certain words and phrases. So a lot of times it's, Google gives us the answer of what the page should look like by just search that term or that group of terms or that topic you want to rank for, and look at what's ranking, right? Is it 9 out of 10, the first 10 results are blog posts or informational pages? Well, then you probably don't want to have a service page, right? You want a blog post. But if, 8 out of 10 results are, a product page for sunglasses or whatever it is, that group of terms or that topic that those terms represent are probably going to be best serviced with a service page. And again, in that case, it would likely just match the template of your site. It would match what your other services pages look like, but you're creating a service page that is targeting kind of that group of terms And again, in the case of e-commerce, it would have, the products that are specific to that, those searches.
How much time do you think you spend? I think that you just did a new campaign recently. We were in the middle of working on a new one. How much time and hours do you think goes into keyword research?
Totally depends on the size of the website, right? So on say it's just a smaller, like 15 to 20 page website or 10 to 20 page website, right? I don't know. It's hard. I guess that's hard to quantify, but that's very different than, so the campaign I just started is, it's not I wouldn't necessarily call it a large website, but I had to do, keyword research for maybe 40 or 50 pages, something like that. So that was a lot more time than a 10 to 20 page website. Again, you're kind of doing keyword research on like a page level. Obviously, you're looking at things broadly too. For instance, you're doing competitive research, so you're seeing what are competitors ranking for. There's all the different ways that people are searching for clients, products, or services. But you are also looking at it on like a page by page level. So how many pages the website is, how many pages a website has that you think there's a good opportunity to optimize for the terms, will kind of dictate how much time it is. As a super rough gauge, I would say like, maybe 30 to 60 minutes for per page, something along those lines. So 12-page website, maybe it's, 10 or 12 hours. 40-page website, maybe it's 30 to 40 hours. That's just a very, very rough gauge.
And I assume that you're not ignoring entirely, but like when you say like a 15-page website, you don't mean like the contact us page and like the
Right.
terms of service and the privacy policy. You mean specifically you're doing keyword research only for the things that generate revenue, a service page, a product page, something, or a homepage.
Yeah. So it's like 15, I don't know, I'll call them rankable pages, right? Pages that have the potential to rank for a term or group of terms that you care to rank for. A lot of times, like in the case of the client I'm working with now, there was a lot of pages that just sort of overlapped in terms of what they were talking about. It's a software company, so just kind of like they like really went like refined, had a page for all the different features and all the different use cases and all the different industries that they target. So in that case, I had to look at, 50 or 60 pages and spend that, hour of time on each one, only to find out that, probably 15 of them or something like that, I actually am not going to optimize for anything, because maybe there was a better, there was 2 pages kind of competing for a similar topic, and I picked the one that was already ranking, or I felt was a stronger page to rank for that term. So a lot of times you might review, say, 20 pages for opportunities, but maybe only 15 of them have opportunities, and the other 5, you either de-optimize or just kind of like leave them as is, right? There are pages that a client needs to have on the site, but not necessarily that you need to try to like draw traffic into from Google.
And this also goes along with a book that I read recently called Product-Led SEO, where basically they talk about when your product or your service or your content on your site is very high quality, you'll weather the storm through the algorithm updates. Like you'll sustain you might have a couple of drops here and there, but you'll sustain your long-term progress and the traffic that you see from organic search.
Yeah,
if you're doing a good job.
I could certainly speak to that, right? So it's like on that note, it's like, again, I've been doing this long enough that I've quote unquote weathered many storms, right? I've been doing SEO for my own projects and have had people pay me to do SEO, either me directly or through an agency, for almost 20 years now, right? Yeah, I mean, my approach on that in terms of, call it like longevity of your SEO, right? Or really your business, it's just like, it's like not chasing like trends or like fads, or probably better said is it's not looking for like shortcuts, right? And that doesn't mean like efficiencies, right? Certainly, like there's a use for, maybe there's many uses for like AI to maybe cut down on some time, but again, I wouldn't use AI as like a shortcut to just like churn out 20 blog posts a month, right? So I think that, like that said, it's like I feel like Google at the core of what they're looking for has not changed a ton. They've been telling us kind of what they want and how to do things since they've been around. And the people that get hit really badly are typically trying to manipulate the algorithm, manipulate the system. An obvious example is, when you used to be able to, you could just buy like thousands of backlinks for $20, right? It's like, clearly Google doesn't want that. They've very clearly and explicitly stated that since the beginning. So if you're just taking when you're doing it, you're taking a huge risk that this best case scenario works in the short term, but eventually that's, as my friend Andy Crestodino likes to say, something along the lines of you have 10,000, Google engineers working to like prevent that from working. It's like, it's going to catch up to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel the same way. That's why I find it so interesting, because there's a lot of SEO newsletters out there, and hey, maybe one day I'll start my own. I don't know. But, you've got all these people that are constantly, it's like the 24/7 news media, like anything else. It's like 24/7 news or sports or whatever. It's like Google, the SEO industry has become this 24/7 watch on what has Google done today? What's the new algorithm update? Who's tweeting about this? It's all like real-time stats, like you're watching any other news feed.
Right.
And it's like, oh man, then you can sign up for like 5 or 10 or 50 different newsletters that all say, and then, SEMrush and Backlinko and everybody else are going to write about it when it happens. It's like, here's the latest algorithm update, and here's what you got to know to respond to it. And I'm just like, you don't really have to pay attention to that. Just keep doing things the right way and just stick it out. And like, they can't make a single change in one day that is so drastic. It totally undoes like years of doing it the proper way. You know what I mean? Like there's not, even with like the AI generative stuff at the top of the search now, and even like when schema became a thing, like little things that can appear on the search results page. Yeah, maybe the SERPs change a little bit, but the concept of indexing your site for the right information and having it at least appear as an impression on a search page, I'm just saying, I don't feel like that's like something that we all have to lose our lunch over, all the time and get crazy about.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've certainly I read a lot more just about SEO and maybe to some extent news very, very, early on, because in order to get to a point where you don't need to, follow that kind of stuff so closely and subscribe to 20 newsletters, you need to have a pretty good base of understanding of how search engines work and what search engines are looking for. But yeah, I guess I'm the same with mainstream news. I watch very little. What I did for years, and I haven't recently, and I'm wondering if it still exists, but one of my like main ways of just like keeping up with, I guess, SEO news, but in a very, I guess, small capacity was the Moz.com, their Moz top 10 newsletter. I think it was like one of the only newsletters I subscribed to, SEO or even marketing related. It was a really nicely curated list of like 10 headlines, and it was either bi-weekly or once a month, so like relatively infrequent. And I subscribed to that, and I took that seriously. Like I made sure to read that just to be like a responsible professional. Like anything really big going on would turn up in there, right? If Panda, Penguin, like in smaller things than that. But as long as I like read those 10 headlines every month, there wasn't going to be anything huge that I was just going to be completely unaware of. So maybe the takeaway there is find a couple good sources for industry news and try to check in on them, somewhat regularly. I probably wouldn't start my every morning reading SEO news, stuff like that. But
yep. Well, that's good. Yeah. The old tried and true method is kind of what I feel like you do and what you've taught me. And it's just amazing to see how, like I said, it feels like the simplicity of it works, but I guess it does. You just do things the right way.